Hello and welcome back to a Bets Unwrapped live show. I'm your host, Corey Easley. As always, you can find me at cmoney52 on Twitter. I'm joined by the Alexes at Prop Stars. Thank you so much for coming back. You're you know you're the prop god as far as I'm concerned.
100%.
Follow you on Twitter at Prop Stars. Make sure you check him out. And then my long lost homie, brother from another mother, Alex Valdez. How's it going? Straight off from work, straight into the pod.
Yeah, ready to go. Got all my notes ready. Alex Squared and C Money himself are going to cash this power parlay and pay my mortgage.
That's dedication, man. Straight from work. That's the grind that we all live for.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. All right,
that's what it takes to be successful in the prop game, is that mentality. So,
man, it can
kudos,
be,
Alex.
Definitely.
Thank you.
So with that being said, let's just jump into this week's games. First game I'm looking at is the Denver Broncos and the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are 9.5-point favorites in this one. The Broncos seem like a good bad team, a team that can beat all the bad teams, and when they play a good team, they look like crap. So in this game, I mean, obviously we all like the Cowboys, but as far as props go, did you guys see anything that jumped out to you?
Yeah, so I have my eye on quite a few props. I posted one prop to Twitter earlier today that I really like, and that is Javonte Williams' longest rush at over 12.5 yards. Just looking at a lot of the metrics and analytics behind Javonte Williams, and I think the naked eye test can also appreciate this, as he is one of the most explosive runners in the NFL. All the metrics suggest that he is probably the most explosive runner in the NFL, whether it's breakaway percentage, avoiding contact, et cetera, et cetera. He ranks really high in all those plays, explosive run rate, et cetera. So yeah, that is one that I like. I also think that sort of explosion kind of meshes well with the potential game script that we see with the Cowboys, and who are 10-point favorites, 7-point favorites, or are they 10-point favorites versus the Broncos?
9.5.
9.5-point favorites. So yeah, I think Javonte Williams is going to have to be leaned on to have some of those explosive plays. That's why I like his longest rush over 12.5 yards, coupled with the fact that he's done it in 6 of 8 games. He's had at least a 12-yard rush in 7 of 8 games. The one game he didn't was just an anomaly outlier game versus the Browns, where he only had 4 rushing attempts. So yeah, that is a prop I love. One thing I want to suggest, looking at, this number has been flip-flopping between 3.5 and 4.5, is Dalton Schultz's reception. So if you look at Dalton Schultz with Dak Prescott, he has just been on an absolute tear over the past 5 games or 4 games played. I believe he's had at least 8 targets in all those games. He's had over 5 receptions in all those games. We saw last week Cooper Rush got the start for Dak Prescott, and Schultz had an off game. Most Cowboys pass catchers did. It was obviously no Dak, completely different dynamic. So yeah, his reception total has been teetering between 3.5 and 4.5. I think in this parlay, I don't know if you can find it at 3.5, Corey. It offers tremendous value because it is heavily steamed up and juiced. But yeah, Dalton Schultz at 3.5 receptions would be a great play for our parlay, in my opinion.
Yeah, right now it's at 3.5. It's $1.60. So yeah, it's decent value, to be honest, like still at 3.5. And then Javonte Williams, longest rush I have at 12.5 now. So it has ticked up a little bit there. Alex, did you have anything in this one?
Yeah, mine was Tony Pollard. I saw the line earlier at 37.5. Yeah, no, and he's hit that in 5 of the last 6, and obviously the last game with Minnesota. Different quarterback in, obviously threw off what they normally do, but he's been getting double-digit touches on the ground game. He's hit that in every single game. He's had double-digit touches, and I definitely see that continuing in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, CeeDee Lamb was questionable. He was kind of banged up throughout the week. I understand like the Amari Cooper stuff I was looking at, 16 and a half, it's $1.83, but I can't trust Amari Cooper. I can't do it. I can't trust him in fantasy. I'm not going to trust him in betting either. So that was a little bit interesting to me. But, yeah, I do like Dalton Schultz. I think we should just put Dalton Schultz into the power parlay. I don't know. You guys agree with that?
I just think 3.5 receptions is such a bargain. If you look at his production with Dak, he has an incredible rapport. I also forgot to mention that Blake Jarwin was just placed on injured reserve. So not only do I think it's a value, even if Jarwin was playing, he's going to have an even further bump in targets. His role is going to expand with Jarwin off the field. So I think that he's an exceptional spot this week, and 3.5 is a tremendous bargain if anyone has that number on its books. It's been, like I said, flip-flopping between 4.5 and 3.5. So if you can get this at 3.5, I'd personally jump all over it.
All right, that's good enough for me. We'll put that into the power parlay, and we're going to move on from that game, and we're going to head to Minnesota Vikings and the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are 6-point favorites in this game. The Vikings, oh man, heartbreak for Minnesota fans, to be honest. Like, they just can't find, their groove and try to figure out how to go about this whole Kirk Cousins and Kubiak thing. And obviously the analytics community, I've listened to Warren Sharp a ton this week, and the Vikings just continue to run the ball on first down and in opportune situations. And when they actually are behind and they actually have to throw the ball, they look really good. I just don't understand how they can look at the numbers and continue to do what they do. And then we got Zimmer coming out this week and saying, "Oh, we're gonna give Dalvin Cook even more attention." So, good luck to the Minnesota Vikings. And did you find anything that you liked in this one?
That's a fantastic point, Corey. When I watch the Vikings, that is the first thing that jumps out to me is when Dalvin Cook is inactive, they look like such a better team. They're not obligated to give Alexander Madison or the backup running backs heavy workloads. They just play so much better when Dalvin Cook is not on the field. And to me, if you're the coaching staff, it does not make sense. Like, obviously Dalvin Cook is a good running back. He should be involved in the game plan. But when the offense has that sort of shackle taken off, you really start to see them open up. And they look so much better just to me when Cook is not on the field and they're not force feeding him. So I don't know what they're doing. I would put the offense in Kirk Cousins' hands at this point and just let him rip. He has been really good when they're playing from behind. It's very puzzling. Dalvin Cook does not seem like he is the best fit for this team or offense. And I don't know why they haven't gone away from him, and they're talking about increasing his workload. It makes zero sense to me. They're very predictable, and it's kind of tough to watch right now.
Yeah. As far as props go, I also heard that this Ravens defense is one of the the Vikings defense is one of the poorest at tackling right now, which doesn't really do well when you have Lamar Jackson at quarterback running around back there. So one of the props that I'm on is Lamar Jackson's rushing yards at 60.5. I just think that he gets loose a couple times here against this Vikings defense. And we can all remember back in the day, take us back, we'll play a little music of Michael Vick running between two Vikings defenders as they crash into each other. Maybe we can reenact that a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore is unable to generate any rushing offense without Lamar's legs. So, a heavy burden is on Lamar. He is having to just be responsible for all the offense, all the rushing offense, all the passing offense. We've also seen the books start to catch up a little bit on Lamar. we've seen a much higher volume Ravens passing attack this season because of the fact that they're not able to generate much of a run game. They've kind of transitioned to a more throwing or pass heavy offense, and you've seen it work out really well. Yeah, the Ravens look very explosive. They have tremendous receivers. Obviously, Marquise Brown, Rashad Bateman looks like a very good rookie. Sammy Watkins, I believe, is potentially back this week. Then obviously Mark Andrews, one of the best pass catching tight ends in the league. So yeah, the Ravens are a very explosive offense. If Minnesota gets behind or whatever, if they go away from Dalvin, this game can be a track meet, in my opinion. So, yeah, I do think there are some prop opportunities. I will say, though, on Baltimore's side, we are seeing earlier in the season, they were kind of basing numbers based on historical splits where, Lamar's passing numbers have been historically suppressed due to the fact that they've been a run-first offense. Now that you see they're passing just as much, he has the highest totals he's had all season. So as far as passing props are concerned for Lamar, I'm staying away from those. I do think there is some value. I personally like to catch a player like Justin Jefferson. He had a 2-catch, 20-yard performance last week. He's obviously one of the best receivers in the league. I love catching a superstar player coming off of an uncharacteristic performance. We also got a slight discount on his receiving yards set at, I want to say, 73.5. I think he provides some value. I also think Tyler Conklin provides some value. I want to say he's at 32.5. We've seen him and Cousins their rapport has developed. Dallas also struggles with tight ends. So, yeah, I do think there are some good props, but I'm looking more towards Minnesota's side of things just because I feel like the game script will be a little more advantageous because they're likely to be trailing in this game, and Kirk Cousins is likely to have to throw the ball quite a bit to remain competitive.
Yeah,
and I am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm continuing my Urban Meyer trait, and I was on both tight ends. I had both of them on my list. I like Mark Andrews for sure, though. Even last week in a game where they were playing catch up, even at the tight end position, he was still getting 22% of the target share. So even in games where the game script's not like them in control, Lamar Jackson was still going for him, and I think in this matchup it should be a smash. I got it at 52.5.
It's currently still at 52.5. Jefferson
Andrew's yards.
3 yards. Yeah, his yards is at 52.5.
That seems low.
It does.
Seems like it should be 60.
Yeah.
I know he averages over 60. Yeah, I was shocked that that's not at 60, actually. That seems like a great number.
And his receptions at 4.5 for this game. So, and that's.
I think 52 yards is a great value for him. I think he should be set at 60 every week, or like 59.5, 60.5. Like that seems like a really good value.
Yeah, I mean, we could just do the tight end power parlay. I mean, Andrew.
We always end up favoring a position, so we should stick with the theme of.
All right,
we'll call it the Urban Meyer parlay.
We'll put Mark Andrews in. I think that's safe. As safe as they come as far as betting goes. But I do like that 52.5 line there. So we're going to go to my favorite team, the New England Patriots at the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton returns. Oh, wait, that's not happening. So we got Mac Jones giving 3.5 points in this game. Christian McCaffrey is back. Sounds like Darnold's going to play. I was kind of hoping PJ Walker would play, but yeah, that's not happening as of right now. What do you expect? I expect the Patriots just to run the ball down the Panthers' throat here. So obviously, I immediately looked at Damian Harris's rushing yards. That's 65.5 currently. What do you like in this game?
This game, I've had a tough time with this game. To me, this game just has as many unknown variables as any other game on the slate. We've heard McCaffrey is going to be active. I've also heard reports that he's only going to be in on 30 to 40 snaps. In a scenario where Carolina's down and he feels healthy, do you think he's coming off the field? Because I don't. I think sometimes you hear those things and then that gets thrown out the window, especially a guy as great and dynamic and as competitive as McCaffrey. We've also seen Darnold just plummet. He is just playing terrible football recently. It's just been tough to watch. I think fading Carolina pass catchers is plus EV. I think Robbie Anderson had either 0 or 1 catches last week. I'd be curious what his receptions is set at and his yards. I haven't seen those numbers yet because of McCaffrey's status being uncertain. They haven't released a lot of the Panthers receiving props. On New England side, is it out, Corey?
I got it here. Robbie Anderson's receiving yards at 28.5.
Oh my God.
Wow.
His total receptions at 3.5.
Wow. So I think I think considering that his ADOT is deep, he's still running routes down the field. I think fading his receptions is a good value because if he's catching 4 passes, he's definitely eclipsing 28 yards considering his average depth of target. So I think looking to fade him, you would definitely want to fade his receptions if there was a play on that. I do agree that Damian Harris should have a large workload for the Patriots. The Panthers, while the offense is a mess and Darnold is just tanking, their defense is still really solid. The secondary has been very good. Obviously, Stephon Gilmore is now playing, and he makes that secondary very, very good. So I think it's going to also be tough on New England's pass catchers as well. I did notice how Jacoby Myers opened low, and I've seen him get steamed up since his lines both came out. But for me personally, there's so many variables that it's hard to predict how this game is going to look. If I were to kind of personally go for anything, it'd be probably fading Robbie Anderson or even DJ Moore, but I know his number came in low too. So I think Robbie Anderson's under 3.5 receptions would be my personal play from this game.
Man,
this was a tough slate to really look at. I'm not betting this one. I'm actually, I might, but I'm teetering on it because when I was on there, the Panthers weren't on there yet. This was before work. I got on Mac Jones over 3.5 yards rushing. His attempts are up the last 2 weeks, but again, it's not a favorite play. It's just the best I could find. I only had 4 props available when I had got a chance to look before work, so I won't be much help on this one.
Look, there's a Ramondre Stevenson prop, and it's 18.5, and it's looking real juicy to me right now. I mean, Damian Harris is great, but Ramondre Stevenson in the games that he has played, he's played in 4. Obviously, he played in the first Dolphins game. He only had 1 carry in that game for 2 yards. So it's, let's put that in perspective. But the other 3, he had 11 carries against the Texans for 23 yards. He had 5 carries against the Cowboys for 23 yards. He had 8 carries against the Chargers last week for 26 yards. Like, even if he gets 5 carries, I think he could get 18.5 yards in this game. The Carolina Panthers defense, their weakness is their rushing defense. They're 19th in DVOA. They're 6th against the pass. I think that's the edge for the Patriots. That's why the Patriots want to play anyway. I could see them running the ball 30 times in this game, no problem. And if they're going to run the ball that many times, Damian Harris's rush attempts is set at 16.5. I mean, if they run the ball 25 to 30 times, Damian Harris gets 16 to 17 of those carries. Ramondre is set to have another, 8 carry game here. And 18.5 yards seems very low for Stevenson in this spot. The other things that I was looking at, obviously the Patriots pass catchers, all their lines have been kind of dropped down. You got Hunter Henry at 29.5. You got Jonnu Smith at 16.5. Kendrick Bourne at 23.5 are all very interesting. One of those is guaranteed to go over. I just can't tell you which one it is going to be. I just feel like in this situation, it's going to be a lot of play action and a lot of crossing routes, especially if Carolina's in man, and just trying to take away those things. And maybe some, generated screens for Jonnu as well, as Josh McDowell's been throwing a ton of those lately. So We got to pick something.
So New England to me is like one of the best examples of a team, in my opinion, that's worth seeing. It's kind of worth kind of taking it down to the wire with them and seeing how seeing who's going to be active, who's going to be inactive, because obviously 1 week you'll see JJ Taylor backing up Damian Harris, Ramondre will not even be active, or Bolden will be the only back active. And then you can kind of have a good sense of, where some of that ancillary production is going to be outside of Damian. But yeah, not knowing they cycle those 3 backs in, and it's just like on a week to week basis, any one of them could be the one who ends up, spelling or mixing in with Damian Harris. So it's tough with the New England backs. I agree. I do like Stevenson, but then I could just see a scenario where, JJ Taylor's the guy and he's inactive, or Bolden is getting all the pass catching work. So yeah, it's tough with New England running backs. And yeah, there's just so many variables in this game, not knowing how much McCaffrey is going to play. And how much Darnold's been struggling. But yeah, this is a tough game for me to really pinpoint anything.
All right, we got to pick something. So we're gonna take Robbie Anderson under 3.5 catches at $1.57. It's not the glorious, huge moneymaker, but I think it's the right play in this one. So
I think he's only had 4 catches once or twice this season as well.
Yeah, so we'll go with that. And last time Sam Darnold played the Patriots, I think he saw some ghosts. So Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Bills are 14.5-point favorites in this one right as we speak. Man, this game could get ugly quickly. Trevor Lawrence, his passing yards is at 221, which is very interesting, even though this Buffalo defense is about as good a defense as you're going to find in the NFL. They're number 1 against the pass. They're number 5 against the run. I'm interested to hear what angle you have on this one.
Yeah, so this is a very fascinating game. I do expect Buffalo to be up large. I do expect Jacksonville to be playing from behind in the game. That being said, you hit the nail on the head. Buffalo's pass defense is elite, and they are not letting their foot off the proverbial gas when they get up either. So yeah, they are finishing games. The Chiefs could definitely take a page out of Buffalo's playbook. As far as that's concerned, I do think Buffalo is going to be aggressive throughout the game. And I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle. James Robinson is questionable. He seems unlikely to play. As far as Jacksonville's pass catchers are concerned, I've been very encouraged with Dan Arnold. His role has grown in the offense every single week. He seems more and more comfortable. We love tight ends. Urban Meyer loves tight ends, as you guys know. But yeah, his role has increased, expanded each and every week. He seems to be the preferred safety blanket for Trevor Lawrence. Now that Laviska Shenault is playing outside, he's running a lot of those high percentage routes over the middle, getting a lot of those. Yeah, he's quite comfortable throwing the ball to him. We've seen Shenault is just not meant to be an outside receiver, just hasn't acclimated to the position switch yet. Marvin Jones is also struggling. So yeah, it's very hard, in my opinion, to trust anything on Jacksonville's side of the ball outside of Dan Arnold right now. My buddy Connor Allen thinks that fading Trevor Lawrence's passing yards is like his favorite play of the season. I just want to throw that out there. If you definitely look at like recent performances, this Bills defense is absolutely one of the best secondaries in the league. I would not be shocked whatsoever if they hold Lawrence under 200 yards. On the Buffalo side of things, there's a lot of interesting things. Zach Moss obviously should be heavily involved. Last week, we saw him receive 8 targets, which was very encouraging if he's going to be used both as a pass catcher and a running back. So I think his combo prop has some value. Yeah, I do think Emmanuel Sanders' receptions at 4.5 is a large number. He's not receiving the sort of volume necessary to get 5 catches, and this game seems like it could get out of hand quickly. So I do think there is some value in fading Manny Sanders' receptions. So yeah, I like Dan Arnold. Not much else on Jacksonville's side of things. I do think there's some value in fading Lawrence even at that low of a number, just as Buffalo pass defense has been absolutely elite and they do not let off. And then as far as Buffalo side of things, I like Zach Moss a little bit. I was just definitely encouraged by his usage.
Yeah,
No.
Go ahead, Alex.
Go ahead, man. I was just gonna say that. Look at us, man.
No, you go.
Go ahead, Corey.
I was just gonna say, Buffalo Bills defense, longest pass allowed. Prop has pretty much hit every single week except for I think 2 weeks. I played it last week against Tua as well. It's at 33.5. That seems very high. I would go under. I think it's a really safe play. This Buffalo defense just twice that it's happened. It's actually gone over the longest reception. Was like 2 fluke plays. There was like one came off a guy's helmet and guy caught it and ran down the field, and another one was like a blown assignment or something. But I really like that one. I think they just kind of cloud this Jacksonville offense up and just make it really tough. Like if you look at Trevor Lawrence's stats, like you said, he hasn't really faced a good defense all year long. I mean, they played the Texans, they played the Broncos, who early in the season really had everyone was healthy. He had 118 yards passing against the Broncos. They played the Cardinals. He had 219. Their secondary is not great. It's not bad either. But the Bengals, 204 yards. And then he played the Titans, who have a terrible secondary, Dolphins, who are a mess, and then Seattle. And, their defense isn't very good either. He only had 238 yards against them. So definitely agree. I think that under longest reception or longest completion prop is pretty nice play at $1.82. So getting good value there.
Those are good. No, but Alex, I really like the Emmanuel Sanders play because I know earlier, I believe in week 2. So Cole Beasley had like a phenomenal game against the Steelers. He got a lot of usage in that game. He had 13 targets, 8 receptions, and in that following game, blowout victory against the Dolphins, he went 4 targets, 4 receptions, and Emmanuel Sanders just threw up a goose egg last week. So if it's one of those game scripts, I could see the pass catchers having an off game. So I like that Sanders play. I really like Tommy Sweeney. I got him at over 24.5 yards receiving. I keep on trying to find these like little values that like Mo Alley Cox on Thursday night. 1 catch, he covered his yardage. So Josh Allen's really been spreading the ball. He's not peppering Stephon Diggs like he has been in other years. So I could see Sweeney getting 2, 3, maybe 4 targets in this game and cashing that total as well. Filling in for Knox.
Yeah, I like that too. I think there's quite a few different angles, fading, backing in this. But yeah, I do think that Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle mightily, and I think attaching ourselves to that in some fashion, whether it's fading his longest reception or fading him specifically or fading an extension of him, whether it's like Marvin Jones, I think is going to not have a good game. I think the value is there. He's just not – Lawrence just is not in a position to be successful, not having James Robinson as the Jags' best offensive player. These pass catchers are miscast. Marvin Jones is not a number 1 receiver at this stage of his career. Laviska Shenault is playing completely out of position. He just looks like a fish out of water playing outside receiver. They don't know how to get the ball into his hands. So I just think this Jacksonville team is going to struggle in a variety of ways. The only person I have any sort of confidence in is Dan Arnold, and that's somewhat because his numbers are coming in low and he just looks comfortable in that offense, and he's about the only thing that Lawrence has going for him right now is their connection seems solid. But yeah, outside of that, there's just not much there.
I would just say quickly, secretly kind of love Jamal Agnew over 3.5 catches. He's had 6, 5, and 6, and he's just like that little sprightly slot guy that they just generate some balls to in this situation. But definitely not putting that in a power parlay. If you guys are cool with it, let's put Lawrence under 33.5 longest reception into the power parlay, and we'll move on from that game. And we got the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. I really like the Bengals in this game. It looks like kind of a square spot for me, I guess. -2.5 in this one. The Bengals versus this Cleveland defense, who we thought was going to be better than they actually are, I think, a little bit. So obviously the Bengals coming off a terrible loss against the Jets where they were up, 11 points in the fourth quarter, and they lose that game. Obviously, Burrow is the guy to be looking at in this one. I think there is some opportunities here with their passing game. So what did you like in this one, Alex?
I like quite a few props in this game, starting with Cleveland's side. I love Jarvis Landry. Even before the Odell Beckham news came out, I think Odell Beckham being out of that offense is going to have a similar effect. How we talked about how Dalvin Cook in Minnesota's offense, they just seem to play better when he's off the field. I think that sort of you'll see that the effect similarly in Cleveland. For whatever reason, he just could not get assimilated and on the same page with Baker in Cleveland's offense. They look a lot better without him. We've seen Jarvis Landry just thrive in that role, running those high percentage routes near the line of scrimmage. He's an excellent slot receiver. I think he's going to get a boost in targets. He looks really good. He looked a little rusty coming off the PCL injury, but yeah, by the end of the Pittsburgh game, I think he finished with double-digit targets. So yeah, I love Jarvis Landry. I called his yards at 48.5. I believe he's up to over 60 at this point. I do think there is value. I think he's an absolute lock for over 4.5 receptions, if that number is still available. Furthermore, I also it's not as 5.5 now.
Yeah, and that's something I targeted last week because with Baker, and it was really good money last week. I think it was 220 for over 4.5, and he had not had a game with Baker that he did not have at least 5 catches.
5 catches, yeah. It's been an absolute auto lock. So yeah, that number should have opened at 5.5. I think it was insane that it opened at 4.5. I really like Nick Chubb this week. I think that his yardage came in way too low at 83.5. If you look at his projected carries, it's set at 20.5. I just have these numbers off the top of my head. In games that Nick Chubb has had 19 carries or more, he's gone over 84 yards. I believe it's 22 out of 23 times. In games that he's had at least 20 carries, he's gone over 17 out of 18 times. So long story short, if Nick Chubb receives at least 19 carries, he is breaking off 83 plus yards. That being said, he does play a running back position. There are lots of ways that things can go awry, whether it's game script, whether there's an injury. But yeah, Nick Chubb does seem very likely to get 20 touches, and he is going to go over 84 yards if he finishes with that many carries, in my opinion. So yeah, I think his yardage line should have opened in the low 90s. It opened at 82 or 83.5. I think that provided some tremendous value. And then on Cincinnati's side of things, yeah, I think we're seeing this offense kind of do the things that we were expecting. And earlier in the season, it kind of was centered around Joe Mixon. Now we're seeing Burrow kind of let loose a little bit, and we're just, Jamar Chase looks like the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year. He's absolutely having one of the most impressive seasons by a rookie wide receiver that we've seen. He's an absolute beast. I think there's value in his receiving prop at 73.5, I believe it's at, or 70. I think anywhere in the 70s, Jamar Chase provides value. So yeah, I like Jamar Chase. I think T. Higgins has some sneaky value. So yeah, I think Higgins and Chase are who I'm looking at on Cincinnati's side, and then in Cleveland, it's Chubb and Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, as far as Cleveland Browns defense goes, they currently rank 25th in pass DVOA against the pass. They're number 3 against the run. So I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Chase and all these pass catchers, like even Uzama. Don't know about Boyd just because it just depends on game script for him. I feel like he's like that. We need a first down kind of guy. But yeah, I like Landry. I agree with you on Chase. It's at 74.5 right now. And Chubb got up to 87.5 now. So
I like Chase at 73.5 a lot. I mean, to me, if you find him in the 70s until he's just worth riding at that number. He is just routinely going over that number. He's also having the longest reception. He's cashing on that, I believe, either 8 out of 8 games or 7 out of 8 games. So yeah, until we see someone stop Jamar Chase, and that's hard to do when you have T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon on the team with a quarterback as competent as Joe Burrow. I think it's worth riding Chase.
Yeah, I can't complain about that. Alex, you got anything on this one?
One that hasn't been mentioned, I really like Austin Hooper, over 23.5 yards receiving. His targets have increased in the last 2 games, and he's had 3 and then 6. So I like the way that he's getting a little bit more involved in this offense. He was always kind of a question mark since coming over from Atlanta, how he didn't really turn into that pass catching tight end that, everybody thought that would happen.
They paid him to be? Yeah.
Yeah. It's something about the Browns. They paid OBJ. He didn't do anything. They're paying Hooper. He's slowly doing something. So I like Hooper in the spot. 23.5 to me seems pretty reachable for him, especially with his targets.
And I believe Donovan Peoples-Jones is also questionable, not expected to play. I could be mistaken on that. I know there are some other injuries in the Browns pass-catching group outside of, obviously, Odell, who is inactive. So, yeah, I think Hooper's solid.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. But we're gonna put Jamar Chase into the power parlay because that feels right.
It's hard. I mean, is there to me, he's like a set and forget player. He's like Miles Bridges of the NFL right now. Like if you see his line under 20 points, the only thing you just have to play that over. There's just certain guys that are worth backing, and he is one of them on a week-to-week basis if his line is in the 70s.
I agree. So we're going to move on from that one and go to Atlanta Falcons at New Orleans Saints. The Saints are 6-point favorites in this game. I love Matt Ryan in this spot against Trevor Siemian. Why is Siemian getting 6 points? I'm very confused. But anyway, Matt Ryan's at 250.5 yards passing. Look, as much as I love Matt Ryan in this spot as just general, I don't know if I think my hard-earned cash on Matt Ryan in this spot. It's supposed to be a good spot for him. As an underdog, you like betting on Matt Ryan. As a favorite, you don't love it so much. Let's put that out there into the world. Cordarrelle Patterson's rushing yards is at 32.5. That's interesting to me, even though this Saints defense is nothing to play around with. So it might be time to fade Cordarrelle Patterson on the ground at least. I think he had a tough spot last week as well and just fell short of his rushing yards. But his pass catching chops came through last week. So I don't know what you guys are targeting with Trevor Siemian at quarterback. I'll be interested to hear what you guys have on this one.
Could not agree more. This Saints rush defense is legit as it gets. They are committed to shutting down the run and making opposing teams one-dimensional. And frankly, they've had that recipe has been working for them. Obviously, they just came off a win versus Tampa Bay. So yeah, I absolutely like. And you guys also know I'm a huge Cordarrelle truther believer in this guy, but yeah, I really like fading him versus this New Orleans Saints front that is just ferocious. We also saw Mike Davis, who is a thorn in Cordarrelle's side, continue to get a ton of work. I also think there's some value in fading him, but yeah, it seems to be, to me, the way it's shaking out is Cordarrelle is going to be used more as a receiver, mix in with rushes, but yeah, it seems that Mike Davis is going to get the lion's share of those early down rushing attempts. So yeah, I think fading Cordero is very solid plus EV on. It's going to be interesting to see on New Orleans side of things. Like you got to imagine they're paying Taysom Hill a lot of money. He's going to mix in on this team. Also, Trevor Siemian is not a guy that, he can come in and play well for a half. It's hard to trust him for 4 quarters. So yeah, that's an interesting one as well. I do think that there is value in the Saints running game. I was very encouraged by Mark Ingram. I believe his rushing yards is set at 28 or 29 and a half yards, while his rushing attempts is at 7.5. So yeah, I think I know Atlanta's rush defense is poor. In DVOA, they rank, I want to say, in the bottom 5. So the Saints are also 6 or 5.5 point favorite. So yeah, I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Ingram. He can absolutely run behind this. The Saints stop the run and then they run the ball well. That's how this team is built. They have an excellent zone blocking scheme. Their offensive line is very good at opening up holes. Ingram has a lot of experience playing in Sean Payton's playbook. So obviously there's no acclimation time for him. He just seems like you can just put him in there. And we saw last week on 8 touches, he had over 50 yards, and that was against the other best rush defense in the league in Tampa Bay. So yeah, I think there's value in Mark Ingram. This game too has a lot of unknown variables, not knowing how much Taysom Hill is going to mix in. Trevor Siemian sucks more than he's good. So yeah, it's that's the one thing I think we can bank on is Kamara and Mark Ingram going to play well. Then conversely, I think we can bank on the Saints stopping Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson as well.
Yeah, I like those. Alex?
That was actually going to be my smash play is Mark Ingram at 29.5 yards rushing. He got 6 carries last week. The Saints like to intertwine a running back in with Kamara, and obviously with Jones not being taken off IR, Mark Ingram's going to get a very healthy dose of touches this week. So I like him a lot.
Yeah, I love that as well, Alex. I think he's a great bet to even get 10 carries. I think there's value in his rushing attempts. And yeah, I think 30 yards is way too low. I could see him getting that in the first drive, honestly.
Yeah,
I agree.
So we're going to add Mark Ingram to the power parlay. Over 29.5 yards rushing, $1.88. So pretty decent value still on Mark Ingram there. So we got the Las Vegas Raiders versus the New York Giants. Tough situation for the Raiders this week, obviously. If you don't know, you know. If you're on Twitter, you know. If you follow sports, you definitely know. So won't get into that too much. Just sad state of events. The Raiders taking on the Giants. The Giants are there. Well, what's a word?
They're there.
There's something.
They're there.
They're definitely something.
They're a team.
Yeah, they're a team. They're playing the Raiders in this one. I just don't know where the value is. Obviously, I keep looking at Josh Jacobs. He's back this week. Hunter Renfrow obviously is my go-to guy on this Raiders team. But where are you guys looking at for value here?
You're speaking my language, Corey. I absolutely love Hunter Renfrow in this offense. He's been just an absolute rock. He's been so consistent in the Raiders passing attack, and he hasn't even been a full-time player. He's not even running. He's only run 206 routes on the season. If you look at most wide receivers, they're close to 300. So yeah, he's still a part-time player. That is going to change now that Henry Ruggs is no longer with the team. I expect his role to grow. Everything is pointing up as far as Hunter Renfrow is concerned. One of my favorite plays this week was his receiving yards over 55.5. I gave it out in my sports line column and on one of the prop shows I appear on weekly. I don't know what the number is at now, but to me, this is very likely to be the last week we find Renfrow's yards under 60. He is just ascended to be Derek Carr's favorite target. If he's not his favorite target, he is very close behind Darren Waller. He is an exceptional route runner. He finds all the soft spots in his zone. He has a very high football IQ. I'm just in love with the guy. I think he's just an absolutely phenomenal player. He is gritty. He is tough. He just is a first down machine. When Carr needs a first down or there's a tough situation or they're trailing, they need a big play, that is who he looks to. It is not Darren Waller. It is Hunter Renfrow. Yeah, so I think his role is going to continue to expand, continue to grow in this offense. The Raiders also average the second most passing yards per game. They are airing the ball out very successfully behind Carr. And yeah, they just don't really have a lot of options besides Waller and Renfrow. And then we also saw last week the Giants took James Bradberry and they stuck him on Travis Kelce. And we saw Travis Kelce struggle 2 catches for, I believe it was 60 or 3 catches for 20 yards. We saw him have one of his worst games of recent memory of his career, frankly. So yeah, it would not surprise me whatsoever to see James Bradberry be stuck on Darren Waller, which would even boost Renfrow even further. So yeah, I absolutely love Hunter Renfrow this week.
I mean, Alex?
Yeah, no, Renfro's definitely on the radar. I feel like anybody who looks at props like Hunter Renfrow is one of those, like if the line is low enough or even within range, it's a smash. So I really like the Renfrow play. I was looking at Brian Edwards. His line kind of stayed pretty similar. It was at 42.5. It's kind of been in the high 30s, low 40s for the most part. So there was no change. I do think that they're going to involve him a little bit more on the offense. Of course, Hunter Renfrow should get the uptick, but I do like Brian Edwards as well at the 42.5. I think that it stayed low. I think the books are looking at Renfrow to kind of take the majority of those touches, but I think Edwards should be a smash still, even at that 42.5-yard line.
Yeah, I love Brian Edwards. I have lots of his rookie cards, so I hope that he takes that next step and does the work out there. But I think we just go Renfrow here. We put Hunter Renfrow over 56.5 into the power parlay.
What is his yards at now, Corey?
57.5.
Yeah, I think he's just tremendous value. Honestly, I like Brian Edwards as well. Yeah, I just think Renfrow is the guy right now.
Yeah. So moving on from that game, we're going to the Chargers and the Eagles. The Chargers are 1.5 point favorites in this game. I love the Chargers in this spot. I just can't get on that board what the Eagles are trying to do. I just think, the Chargers are the more talented team. Going up against this Philly defense. This Philly defense is 22nd against the rush. And vice versa. The Chargers are looking at it right now, they are not very good against the rush. They're dead last against the run. So both these teams struggle against the run. So that immediately takes my focus to the running back props. And with that, we got Boston Scott is at 43.5. We got Hurts at 48.5, and we got Eckler at 64.5. Anything that jumps out to you guys in this one?
This is a very, very fascinating game for a number of reasons. For one, I did not anticipate the Chargers being only 1 or 1.5 point favorites. I know it's a tough spot. Obviously, traveling east, playing on the opposite time zone and whatnot, those aren't favorable for West Coast teams historically. But yeah, to me, this Chargers team, I hate to say that as a diehard Eagles fan, is significantly more talented than the Eagles. There are a lot of things that can happen. So while the Chargers rush defense is ranking dead last in most metrics, as you pointed out, Corey, the Eagles' newfound philosophy of running the ball, in my opinion, is very shaky. Like, if they are trailing at any point in this game, I could see Nick Sirianni abandoning the run in a heartbeat. So while I actually really like Boston Scott, if I knew for an absolute fact he was going to receive double-digit carries, I think he's a tremendous bet. But knowing Nick Sirianni and how quick he is to abandon the run when things aren't going well, to me, it's hard to trust Boston Scott because you're banking on this Eagles team not going down a touchdown or double digits, because they will abandon the run about as fast as any other team there is. So, yeah, I do like Boston Scott. Eckler's yards came in very high, both his rushing and receiving yards. Obviously, we all like playing Eckler's receiving totals, and I've been watching very closely, and unfortunately, the Chargers are deciding to deploy him more and more as an early down runner, and as a result, he's not getting the sort of work in the passing game that he has in recent years. I'm befuddled by it, because to me, he is as good as any receiving back in football. If I'm the Chargers and that coaching staff, I am using him primarily in that role and then mixing him in as a runner. They're instead deciding to use him primarily as a runner and mixing him in as a pass catching back. He's not on the field as much as he should be, and they're preserving him, but they're primarily using him as a first and second down runner. He's been effective because he's an extremely talented player, but his real skill is obviously as a versatile, just matchup nightmare out of the backfield. So I really wish that they were using him more as a pass catcher. It's alarming. It's troubling, because I have really liked backing him, but yeah, he's just not getting the sort of usage that he has previously, and it is concerning from that standpoint. As far as props that I do like, Devontae Smith is the epitome of a boom or bust player. Almost half of his production has come versus either terrible secondaries or just in garbage time or some combination of the two. Versus good secondaries, he is struggling mightily. And while the Chargers are a terrible run defense, they don't cover tight ends well. One thing they do is they shut down receivers as well as any team in the league. They've given up the fewest yards to opposing wide receivers by a significant margin too. I think they've only given up 115 yards per game to opposing wide receivers. They are missing a couple corners, but they have tremendous depth in that secondary. So I think fading Eagles receivers provides some value. I think Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor, I think fading either of those guys, or even all three of them if you want to. I'm pretty sure two of them are going to stay under their line. So that has some volume. I do expect Dallas Goedert to be very effective. The Chargers have really struggled covering tight ends. But yeah, to me, it's hard to trust these Eagles running backs just because of how quickly Sirianni will abandon the run. And you mentioned, Corey, and I completely agree, the Chargers team is a lot more talented than this Eagles team. So yeah, I can totally see a scenario where the Chargers get up 7 to 10 points, the Eagles stop running the ball. Another thing I think that has some value is Justin Herbert's passing attempts came out at 40.5. That is a gigantic number. That is a huge number. They should be able to also have success running the ball versus Eagles team. To me, there's a lot of outs that exist where he can be under that number. Certainly he's capable of going over because they are a high volume passing attack. So yeah, I think that provides some value is the under on Herbert's passing attempts. I also do think Keenan Allen will have a tremendous game. The Eagles secondary is decent, but what they lack and what they struggle with is allowing short area reception. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I like. I know I've been rambling on and on and on about this game, but yeah, I think there's so many things that could happen. There's so many interesting subplots. This game is going to be very fascinating to me.
Alex, Donald Parham.
Yeah. No, not Donald Parham. No, Dallas Goedert. I got his line at 56.5. I mean, he's smacked last week. 2 weeks ago, he got the highest receiving total he's had all season, and then last week he beat that by 2 yards. He's getting the dynamic touches. It's the boom everybody was hoping for with Ertz getting shipped out of town. I think that line is too low at 56.5. Depending where it's at, but I think anything in the 62, 63, I'd still take over for Goddard. I just think he's
54.
Finally getting the. Yeah, I love that play. Absolutely love that play.
We need one thing only. It's Eckler rushing yards, isn't it? Are we over?
I like Eckler's rushing yards just based on how they're choosing to use him. Like they are using him as that first and second down bell cow in the offense. The Eagles really struggle defending the run, as you mentioned, Corey. And yeah, he's talented enough that he's going to thrive in whatever role you put him in. To me, he's if I were in charge of the offense, I would have him primarily running routes out of the backfield and just using him as a chess piece. But yeah, they're deciding to really use him in that second down role a lot. I anticipate them sticking with that versus the Eagles. So yeah, I think that does provide some value. I think Keenan Allen is going to get open all day on this Eagles secondary, who keep everything in front of them. I think Mike Williams is going to struggle, unfortunately, on the outside. I could see Darius Slay shadowing him, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff I think that offers a nice value. I love fading Eagles receivers. One of my favorite plays was fading Devontae Smith. But yeah, I'm cool with whatever. I like Goddard as well. I think he's going to have success. I love Goddard. I will caution, though, that he is making the most of his targets. I was hoping and anticipating more of a target share to Goddard. He's running his routes deep down the field. Hurts likes him, obviously. They have connection, but he's not getting the sort of target share that I was expecting when Ertz got shipped off. But he is absolutely making the most of those targets. I do absolutely lean over on his receiving prop. I do wish that he was getting peppered more on some of those closer routes to the line of scrimmage, but they seem to just like to run him intermediate and deep more than they do close to the line of scrimmage.
All right. Well, we're going to add Austin Eckler to the power parlay.
I'm up for it.
64.5 yards. And go from that game, which was very, very eloquently spoken about by Prop Stars, to the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Jordan Love show comes to Arrowhead. And Chiefs are 7-point favorites. I don't know if they should ever be a 7-point favorite ever again after last week. But anyway, I digress. The Chiefs giving 7 points in this one. I've already given out Tyreek Hill over receptions, total receptions in this game, over 6.5. That's paying $1.73 at the moment. I just think that's the way they played last week is the way they're going to have to play the rest of the season. And the way that they just manufacture targets for them is the way to go. But what do you guys like in this one?
I'm curious to get your guys' take on Travis Kelce. Twitter has been a buzz on whether or not did he have an off game. Is he receiving more defensive attention? Was it the fact that they put a corner on him, or is Kelce cooked? There is an argument that, that he is 32 years old. We see players just fall off a cliff sometimes at that age. And yeah, there seems to be a wild range of opinions regarding Kelce and whether or not he's over the hill or it's just an outlier type game. But yeah, it's very interesting. He certainly is struggling in comparison to the Kelce that we have seen over the last couple of years. So yeah, I do like Tyreek. On the Green Bay side of things, I do think it's going to be really interesting with Jordan Love behind center. I do anticipate the Packers leaning heavily on A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. One thing that I really like was A.J. Dillon's rushing yards. I've been very encouraged. I know I say that term often, but I've been very encouraged with his usage. He looks really good in that backfield. He is fighting for extra yards. He's had double-digit carries, I believe, in either 4 or 3 of the last 5 games. He only had 8 carries in the game that he didn't. So, yeah, his role and usage is increasing in Green Bay's offense. I have to imagine with Rodgers off the field, they are going to keep things simple for that Green Bay offense. And to me, it makes a lot of sense to lean on Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, which they've already been doing anyway. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to have to deviate far away from the offensive philosophy. So, yeah, I do expect Dillon to provide some value because obviously Jones's numbers are very high. On the other side, the Chiefs' defense is not good against opponent running backs. I believe they rank in the bottom 5 in rushing DVOA. So on Green Bay side of things, I like the value that Dillon provides. I also think that there's some sneaky value potentially in Mercedes Lewis. I know that his yards came out at 7.5. He's obviously going to be filling in for Robert Tonyan, who was placed on IR. You have to imagine that Love has some chemistry with the backup tight end. We obviously see quarterbacks making their first start. They tend to lean on their tight ends. I think that number is probably a way too low. I'm not sure what it's out now because I saw another big group that was on Mercedes Lewis. So, yeah, I do think that those two spots to me are the most so it's difficult, obviously, to project Green Bay not knowing what the offense looks like without Rodgers, but I do think that, yeah, A.J. Dillon makes sense from a value standpoint. Then on the Chiefs, yeah, I like Tyreek a lot. I just think that's what is working for this Kansas City offense is Tyreek, and frankly, not much else. I do like Darrell Williams. He is a wily veteran, not flashy whatsoever, but he gets the job done. And more importantly, Andy Reid trusts him, and there are not a lot of things that you can trust in this Chiefs team right now. So he provides a safety blanket, in my opinion. So I expect his usage to continue to grow. One of my favorite plays was his receptions prop over 2.5 receptions. He's hit this in 4 straight games. He's coming off a game where he had a season high 6 targets and 6 catches. So yeah, I like Darrell Williams over 2.5 receptions. Then I like A.J. Dillon on the other side. I think Mercedes Lewis has some nice value as well. Curious what you guys think about those plays. I'm curious what your takes on Travis Kelce is.
Yeah, I just wrote an article for King Fantasy Sports. Dynasty sells, and Kelsey was there. So I think it's time to check out if you're a fantasy owner and you have him in Dynasty. I don't think he's cooked like cooked. But I just think the way that the teams currently play them, like they know that they don't really have anything in the middle of the field. They don't have like a power run game. They don't have anything in the middle of the field to really threaten the defenses other than Kelsey. So they take Kelsey away, whether they make that difficult, whether they just put a bunch of guys in the middle of the field, or they bracket him and make stuff harder on the outside for everyone else. Like I think that's the strategy that everyone's been using so far against this Chiefs defense, like to keep everything basically in a cloud. Keep everything underneath, take Kelsey away when they do that. So it's been working. Mahomes just becomes impatient. But, yeah, I think if you have him in Dynasty, I think it's time now because by the time they fix this, he's going to be 33, 34, and he's just going to be a different type of player. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to be usable, but I don't think his value is ever going to be as high as it is at the moment. As for props, I do like Darrell Williams receiving yards actually in this one. He's gone over that in his last 3. He had 3 for 27 against Washington, 3 for 30 against Tennessee, and 6 for 61 last week. Obviously, we saw Gore come in and get a lot of early down work, and obviously Darrell Williams was used a lot in the passing game, and obviously he's better at pass protection and things like that. But his line is at 17.5 right now. And actually he's gone over that in 4 of the last 4 games, basically.
What was nice, too, just to piggyback on your point, Corey, is that Gore did not receive 1 target.
Right.
So, yeah, like obviously it was a surprise to see him all of a sudden have double-digit carries, and his ascension in the offense was a surprise. But, yeah, he does not pose any threat whatsoever as a pass-catching back, and I think all that work belongs to Darrell Williams until Edwards-Helaire comes back.
All right.
I promise I wasn't looking at your guys' notes, but A.J. Dillon rushing and Darrell Williams receiving were the 2 on my list. So I love those plays, and the Packers are looking to get A.J. Dillon more involved. And I've been loving the second string or the number 2 running back and number 2 tight end lines the last few weeks. So I'm always looking for value there. So I like Dillon there in that spot too.
Love it when we align.
Let's actually put A.J. Dillon in because I like that as well. I think this Chiefs defense is a disaster. I don't think the Packers are going to try to put too much on Jordan Love's plate here, game 1 or game 1.5, or whatever it is.
I also agree with your point. Like, it does not make sense to me, and I spend 0 time on spreads and totals and that sort of thing, but the Chiefs should not be 7-point favorites over pretty much anyone outside of maybe like the Jags or the Texans. And right. This Green Bay team, obviously Aaron Rodgers is a massive, massive loss, but they're talented enough and schematically they're good enough where they're going to be successful versus Kansas City on both sides, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't think that the Chiefs have earned the right to be this big of favorites versus anyone. And I also expect Green Bay is not a team, like how I mentioned, Nick Sirianni will just abandon the run. the first opportunity he's given. I don't think that's going to be the case with Matt LaFleur and this Green Bay team whatsoever. I think even in a scenario where they're down 7 to 10 points, if the Chiefs get up big early, they will stick to their offensive philosophy and they will continue to do the things that will bring them success. And in my opinion, that is relying on A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Got the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are 3-point favorites now in this one. It did, ebb and flow between 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Now it's up to 3. The 49ers are the favorite. This game's very interesting. Obviously, we don't have any quarterback props other than Jimmy G, who actually looked pretty solid last week. We got Elijah Mitchell in here. He was questionable last time I saw that they did activate Jeff Wilson off IR or off the PUP list. James Conner. I mean, I don't have tons of props here, to be honest. We got George Kittle, Debo, Christian Kirk, Rondale, all receiving, no reception. So a lot of uncertainty in this game. Do we have anything that we like in this one?
So I was just going to say, right next to New England and Carolina, and probably even more so in this game, there are so many unknown variables. We don't know Kyler Murray's status. Is DeAndre Hopkins ruled out yet? I know AJ Green is.
I think he's out.
Okay, so yeah, we could be seeing a Colt McCoy-led offense without DeAndre Hopkins and without AJ Green. Have no idea what that's going to look like. I did think Chase Edmonds at 38.5 rushing yards provided some value, but he has a shoulder injury, and while I love Chase Edmonds, he is not the most durable player in the world, and he's been limited in practice. I'm not sure he's even practiced this week outside of a limited participant. And furthermore, if you recall on the last play of that last game that we saw Arizona when they lost to Green Bay, he hurt his shoulder again. He injured the shoulder. So while I really liked Chase Edmonds' line, if this was a healthy Chase Edmonds, not knowing his status, seeing him not practice makes me very reluctant to look his way. And Colt McCoy could be behind center. There's just so many unknown variables. The little bit that we do know, I think, rests on San Francisco's side. But we don't even know what their backfield is going to look like. Elijah Mitchell may not play, coupled with Jeff Wilson, like you said, could be activated. So I don't know what that backfield is going to look like. And then furthermore, Kittle is expected to play, but we saw Debo get hurt. So, I have just not touched this game. I don't even know where to look in this game. This one has been very tough for me, just not knowing how anything's going to look, who's even going to be active or inactive. I'm staying away personally.
It's probably the smartest move, to be honest. One trend that's sticking out is Jimmy Garoppolo has recorded 259-plus passing yards in each of his 4 previous appearances against the Cardinals. His line's at 204.5.
This is a very different Cardinals defense, though. But they are without J.J. Watt, but they have been very good this year.
They have been. I mean, James Conner at 39.5 is a little bit interesting. His 49ers defense has been pretty stout against the run, though, all year long. So, I don't quite know where the edge is here. The under 45.5 is a little bit interesting, I think. 8 of the Cardinals' last 10 road games have gone under. Plus, we have Colt McCoy. I think this San Francisco offense is going to be about as conservative, and if they can get out of here with a 17-0 win, they would do that.
I think the under has a lot of value. Again, I don't bet spreads or totals, but yeah. I also saw a quote, I forget if it was from the Cardinals owner or it was from Cliff Kingsbury, just saying regarding Kyler Murray's status, how they are looking towards the future, which to me signals that he is unlikely to play in this game where, they're obviously 7-1. It's not, I don't think he needs to be out there if he's, going to potentially put himself at risk.
Yeah.
Alex, that's how I read it too.
Yeah.
The closest thing I'd say to a lean would be James Conner, but this game is just so hard to read.
Is it against our rules to leave it off?
It's not.
We've never had this situation. We were close once, but I think we ended up going with the total on that.
I defer to you guys. I totally would not mind playing the under on the total. I know you said you like that, Corey, but whatever you guys think works with me.
I mean, I'm not totally against it, and we could always add another one that we liked from another game.
I love that idea.
Why don't we just add Darrell Williams 17.5 receiving yards?
And we could definitely do something like that. So we'll leave that off for now. We'll find something else to throw into the power play from another spot, because that game is just it's tough.
Corey, I promise you, the mortgage company, they're not going to care if we didn't put the Cardinals 49ers, so we'll be fine.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to add some real depth to this bad boy if you want to get your mortgage paid. The next game we got is the Tennessee Titans and the Los Angeles Rams. This game is very interesting. The Rams are 7-point favorites in this one. There's a lot to like in this game. I think as far as the Rams go, Matthew Stafford's passing yards is at 302.5. Like, as bad as the Tennessee's defense secondary has been, a lot of people haven't been able to take advantage of it the last couple of weeks. So that's interesting. Going into this one, obviously, with the receivers that this Rams team has, Cooper Kupp, 98.5 yards is his receiving yards right now. Robert Woods is at 59.5. Is there anything that jumps out to you guys in this one?
I have a play I love in this game, and it's
Here we go.
It might be a meme, but I honestly love it. It's very speculative, but it's Adrian Peterson over 32.5 rushing yards. I'm not even joking. It's speculative, but very encouraged by the fact that he was called up, activated to the roster. The guy keeps himself in tremendous shape. I've watched him each of the previous years. He has not played on good teams behind good offensive lines, and he still gets the job done. He looked good the last time we have any sort of footage or tape on him. The fact that he was activated the first week they signed him tells me that, this guy was waiting for this opportunity, keeps himself in just unbelievable shape, has access to the best supplements in the world. They take him to the back room of GNC and they hook him up with all the good stuff. So, I have zero doubts that AP is in just tremendous shape. And then furthermore, Jeremy McNichols has never been used in an early down role. He's had double-digit carries one time in his 5-year career. He averages less than 2 carries per game in games he's active. He's only going to be used as a pass-catching back. AP is going to get all of the early down work in this Titans offense. Todd Downing, offensive coordinator for Tennessee, loves to run the ball. He is going to run the ball. Adrian Peterson is going to get 10 to, or I would say more like 12 to 14 carries in this game versus a Rams defense that is exceptional versus the pass, but they have been a little soft up the middle. And Tennessee's offensive line, plus their schematics, plus just the way that they are equipped to play football, they're not going to just suddenly overnight turn this into a high-volume passing attack. Yes, I'm expecting them to pass the ball more, but they're going to run the ball. That is the Tennessee Titans' identity. They're not just going to suddenly stop that. So I actually really like Adrian Peterson. It's funny. I know it sounds funny, over 32.5 rushing yards.
I love it, actually.
He's actually on my sheet.
I got an alt line here. You got 40 plus is $250, paying $250, and 50 plus is $3.60. So.
I love both of those. I like them as individual plays. I like them as components to our parlay. I think, I've been waiting for an alt line on him because I think he's a tremendous bet to get over 50 yards rushing.
I mean,
this is also the best
value.
This is the best situation he has been in too. Like we're looking at him on the Lions, on the Washington football team. Like none of these teams did him any single favors whatsoever, had just dismal quarterback play. Now he's coming to an offense with a great offensive line, with a great run blocking scheme, coupled with he profiles similarly to Henry. It's not going to be a big adjustment for the team. Furthermore, they have A.J. Brown, who's playing just phenomenal football on the outside. Julio Jones is going to be active in this game, and Tannehill's playing some of the best football of his career. So he is stepping in to a great situation, which he has not been in for years. So to me, he's going to be motivated. We know the guy keeps himself in just unbelievable shape and condition. I love it.
I love it as well.
I think for the power parlay, we should just lock it in at the 40 plus.
Okay, yeah, it's I already did that. But is there anything else we like on? Do we like anything on the Rams side?
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned your number one dynasty RB for the Rams. Yeah,
it's just 75.5 is about the number I would have it at. That's my only concern. And obviously, his receiving yards at 16.5. His receiving is interesting, but he only gets he's doing well with what he's given. He's only had 1 or 2 catches, but he'll go for 20 yards, and that's done. So I'm trying to stay away from Henderson in this one. Robert Woods is interesting. I don't know. Quickly look right now. But 59.5 just seems low in the situation, but he hasn't really done much with his he's just been all over the place. So I get why it's there at the moment. So yeah, there's not, other than Cooper Kupp receptions at 7.5 is interesting, because if Titans try to keep this close, I think Kupp goes over that. I think he gets 8 catches, 8-9 catches in this game. So yeah, I don't know what. I think we just go with Adrian Peterson, 40 plus.
I like that. Love that, excuse me. Oh, man, I just got DeRozan over 33.5 points, rebounds, assists. I lost it on the hook.
Oh, no.
They took off an assist.
Can you tell me, Alex, how many points Levine and Vucevic finished with?
Oh, I know Levine had himself a game. He had
so he went over then.
32.
Okay.
32.
What about Vucevic? I was fading him.
He had 11.
Hit them both.
Nice.
Went under on Vuk and then over on Levine, 24.5. So happy with that.
Was a no sweat. He definitely hit that early in the fourth. So
Levine is a Sixers killer. He loves playing my Sixers, unfortunately. But yeah, he kills the Sixers. So anytime I find Levine in the 25 or under range versus Philly, especially without Thibault in the lineup, that is a set and forget if we see that again this season.
I'll write that down.
Write that down. All right, we're gonna go to the Monday night game, which is Chicago Bears and Alex's Pittsburgh Steelers. The bottom Alex.
They're playing a lot better, Alex's Pittsburgh Steelers. There's that terrible towel. They look they're playing their best football of the season. They've looked good. Najee.
Very encouraging, because I will be at the Chargers Steelers game in late November, so I'm hoping to see Big Ben in his possible farewell tour.
Najee is going to run just roughshod over Los Angeles' rush defense. They're going to have no chance versus Najee.
You speak of Najee, and it's an interesting situation here against the Bears defense, who started out pretty good, and now they're suffering a little bit. They're 24th in DVOA against the run, 13th against the pass. They're pretty much stock standard in the middle of the pack as far as overall defense. And Najee Harris's rushing yards, obviously the last few games now, he's got 91, 81, and 122. His line's at 82.5 right now. I'm struggling to see the path to points scored in this game. It's very.
I have another tidbit for you guys that I know you'll both be interested in that I learned just this week or last week was this Bears defense is giving up more production to opposing number one wide receivers than any defense in the league. Last week we saw Debo, I think, have a 200-plus receiving yard game. That has been a constant or reoccurring trend for this Bears defense. They are just getting absolutely destroyed by opposing number one wide receivers. So, there's a lot of things to look at in this game. I think Deontay Johnson at 73.5 yards provides tremendous value. I think Alex can also touch on this. He is absolutely just a target hog. He is just the first, second, and third read for Ben. Ben is just comfortable throwing the ball to him 12 to 15 times a game. He's gotten rid of his little drops thing that we saw last year. He looks really good. I personally think Deontay Johnson is just going to have a really big game.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson at 73.5 seems like easy, nice little play there at $1.88. Hasn't really moved much. So, Alex, what's your perspective on your team, bro?
Yeah, no, I had Deontay Johnson. I mean, he's had double-digit targets in all but one game. So I agree with Alex. The volume is there. And now knowing that caveat of the number one receivers performing so well, let's go for the guy that, you fought me a lot last year to get him on the power parlays, but he's finally getting some love from you. So let's add him to this one.
He looks great. I also want to say, just while we're talking about this game, I love Pat Freiermuth. To me, he's Heath Miller 2.0. He looks like he's going to be the tight end for Pittsburgh for the next 6 to 8 years.
Can't wait to scream Muth.
Yeah. I tried to trade him with Alex in Dynasty League, but he didn't want him. So.
What's funny is you have an offer in your inbox for that one.
Oh, okay. I haven't checked it. Definitely do that. But just while you guys are talking, I added Deontay Johnson, obviously. I also added in Darrell Williams over receiving yards, and I added Jarvis Landry over receiving yards as well, which gives us, it's not mind-bending, but it's 3,382. It's 13 legs. Got Dalton Schultz over 3.5, Andrews over 52.5, Robbie Anderson under 3.5 catches, Trevor Lawrence under 33.5 longest pass, Mark Ingram over 29.5 yards, Hunter Renfrow over 57.5 yards, Austin Eckler over 64.5 yards rushing, Adrian Peterson 40 plus, Deontay Johnson 73.5, Jamar Chase over 74.5 yards receiving, Jarvis Landry over 58.5 yards receiving. If you just want to do the same game, that's $3.60 right there. AJ Dillon over 40.5 yards rushing, Darrell Williams over 17.5 yards receiving. That's $3.50 in the same gamer. And that's the total.
I have never been more confident in a 13-leg parlay in my life.
I mean,
I'm serious. I love this. I think we're super live for this.
Well, we'll take 33K if we can pull it off.
Can you add five? Can you add a 5 spot for me?
I sure can.
Cash up you guys.
Yeah, that's 50K.
Look at that, 50K.
3 ways. Let's go. 50K 3-way sounds really good for us here at the Ben's Unwrapped podcast. Thank you very much, Alex Prop Stars. Thank you so much for coming on again. I love doing this, love the insight, and I hopefully everyone else got some props that they can take with them and win some cash this weekend. Appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon.